ahead and begin today. We have a few things to tend to before we get into our infographic presentations from our interviews. I'm very excited to continue to see the learning on all of that. And we're going to take a little bit of a different approach with that today, but I will let you know what that's going to look like in just a moment. Right now, I'm going to share my screen and take us to, let's see if I can share this whole thing and sound at the same time. We will do. Okay, there might be a little bit of a delay, but you should be able to see the course on your screen right now, yes?
Yes, we are able to see.
Okay, perfect. So I wanted to take us in here to the objectives of the interviews because I found a couple of resources that I thought you might enjoy. First is an article by Forbes, and it's 15 leadership lessons that leaders wish they had learned sooner. And it says these leaders because it's from leaders from Forbes themselves. So that's very interesting and insightful. I thought you would enjoy that read. And then there's a section of a video I wanted to share with you this morning just to get our brains acclimated to the learning at hand. And it's our favorite Simon Sinek. And it's a portion of an interview that he did. The interview itself is over an hour and a half long, but when you get a half hour into the interview, he speaks to leaders and humility. And it really is insightful in regards to a component of the experience I wanted you to all have by reaching out to people who are leaders and learning from them. So I'm going to share that with you briefly here. Now, I'm going to go to full screen and play from where it's at because that is the section that we're going to watch. But please do let me know if you don't hear something because you should hear sound right away. Um,
No, Professor, I cannot hear.
you cannot hear? Okay, thank you. Let me and go into here and stop sharing for a minute. And when I go to share, it says share tab audio. And I am going to go straight to that tab. Let's see if this will work better.
The 5th Chief Master Sergeant of the U.S. Air Force. And he said, don't confuse.
Are you able to hear it now?
Yes, it's working now.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to leave it in the smaller screen for you then, just to make sure we don't mess up the sound. Thank you. It's just a few minutes long.
Humility with meekness. He said, humility is being open to the ideas of others. You can still have a big bombastic, you can still have a huge ego. And I've met some guys with huge egos, but when you say, I've got an idea, they go on. And I think that's humility. Right. It's not, oh shucks, that's meekness, which can be faked as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can be, as you say, humble, but also ruthless. If you're loaded with a why, where you want to get
stubborn,
to,
more than
stubborn.
Ruthless.
Sorry, it's the right word. Yeah, stubborn about where you're trying to get to, and that's important. But like everybody, I was watching some of your interviews, trying to find Simon's top 5 attributes of leadership, and you said that, well, you don't like that. You think courage is the only thing that's common to them all. And like you said at the beginning, you know, you said you're an introvert. So Terry Leahy, who ran an organization of 300,000 people at Tesco, one of the best CEOs we've had in this country, is a self-proclaimed introvert. As you said, they're all different styles that get to the top.
Yeah.
Courage is...
For me, it is. I mean, I get the question a lot. Sort of, what are the top 5 attributes a leader needs to have? You know, vision, charisma. You know, I know some really spectacular leaders who don't have big Steve Jobsian, Richard Branson-y visions, and yet they really take care of their people and are really pretty great leaders. And I know some leaders that really don't have much charisma. They're sort of weirdly quiet and meek, and yet really brilliant, spectacular, and loved. And you know, but I am comfortable saying that all the great leaders that I've met or looked at, they do have courage. And the reason is the pressures of leadership are overwhelming. I mean, we can't imagine the pressures of leading a public company or pioneering some political movement. I mean, the pressures are overwhelming. And the courage to stand up to the majority, the courage to stand up to political or financial pressures, the courage to not do what's expedient in the short term in order to do something that's right for the long term, is tremendous. The courage to speak truth to power, the courage to do the right thing, the courage to take a short-term loss in order for long-term gain. I mean, I can't imagine some of the stresses that some of these guys must go through.
Yeah.
And so courage for me is it. Courage for me is it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people you know, rising through the ranks doesn't make you a leader. It just means you've accumulated rank and authority.
Right.
Leadership is something entirely different. There are many people who reach the highest levels of companies who are not leaders. They have authority, and we do as they tell us because they have authority over us, but we wouldn't follow them. You know, and yet we all know many people in the organization who have no authority, and yet they've made the choice to look after the person to the left and look after the person to the right, and we would follow them anywhere.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, those choices are hard, which is why I think when CEOs tell me I had no choice, my reaction is you just lack the courage to make hard choices.
Right. And making those unpopular decisions, as you said, even if you're the only one that thinks it needs to go that way, and the majority thinks it needs to go the other way, but you're the leader, you have to have that.
You probably need to have at least one ally.
Right. Yeah.
If you're the only one, it could be delusion.
Yeah. Get your wife on side. Your husband on side.
A couple people, I think,
would be useful,
because it's, you know, you need to have a couple people to watch your back. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the greatest leaders. Obviously, I know you're a fan of Apple, clearly a fan of Apple and Steve Jobs, and also Nelson Mandela. You grew up part of your time in South Africa, so I'm sure that had an influence on you. But those two are no longer with us. Is there any other leader that you think out there right now that is just kicking it when it comes to start with why, or sort of embodies some of your notion of...
Yeah, I think Pope Francis is pretty spectacular. Okay. I mean, he stands for something that's bigger than the church and religion, right? Yeah. He's accumulated popularity and a following outside of the Catholic Church. He stands up to the pressures, he sticks to his guns, and he's about inclusion and belonging. That he's using the church to advance, but it's not even about Catholicism. It's actually some even higher law, you know? And we can see the difference between the popularity he has versus the previous pope is amazing. I think he's a really great leader. I think he's an example of a great leader. I think Lady Gaga for many years was a great leader. She stands for something positive. She stands for inclusion. She stands for giving a voice to the misfits. She calls them my little monsters. You know, they even have a title for themselves. And she's unbelievably consistent. And, you know, when you see her, when she makes comments at concerts, she talks about inclusion. I was watching a press conference she did where there was MAC Makeup, for which she's a spokesperson, announced a new color lipstick, and she was going to make a speech. And I thought, how does this going to work, you know? And she talked about how she was very specific about picking a color that you could wear if you were black or white or whatever color you were, that this lipstick would work for you. And I thought, my goodness, even with lipstick, she's about inclusion, you know? And she gives people a sense of belonging. I like that. There's some of the great modern visionaries today. I think Elon Musk is up there. I think Richard Branson is up there. I think Joe Gebbia from Airbnb. He's got this very fast growing tech company. It's only been around 8 years, and it looks like a tech company. But when you talk to Joe, he thinks it's a company all about trust. It's very human to him. I love that. I love that. So we have some examples, but we need more, and we need younger ones. You know, some of the people I'm talking about are old men, or they're retired, or the dead.
Yeah.
You know,
That's right.
and we are desperately lacking in a new generation of leaders, and we're desperately lacking in good political leaders, and corporate leaders.
Isn't your next book a younger age group, 6 to 12?
There's a few things I'm working on. One of which is an edition of Start with Why for 12 to 16-year-olds. Yeah, which I'm really excited to write, because to give a younger generation a sense of what it means to have a sense of purpose and live your life for a reason, and commit yourself to that at a younger age, and to understand the value of each other. Yeah. You know,
I mean, it's so clear that you've got a massive, you're living and breathing why. You're doing this interview for free, and we thank you for that. We're gonna, but before this interview, you're talking about how passionate
do others get paid?
Well, yeah, I shouldn't have said that.
Make a note.
Yeah, make a note. Oh my God, can we edit this out? Don't send this to anyone.
Okay. So I thought that was really important for us to discuss or to view, because there's going to be very explicit learning that you're going to have from your interview experiences. But also, I hope that you take the time to reflect and be curious about the humility, the courage, and that difference that was mentioned in regards to rank and authority versus leaders. And that would be a really great discussion, but I'll hold that for another time. Any comments or considerations in regards to what you just viewed?
Professor, I have a question.
Yes.
For part 4 of 6 for the solo project, was it graded or not yet, or I have an error, because I found this is the only part that is not graded. Even part 5 or 6 is graded after.
Okay, part 4 should be graded, so let me go back in and look, okay?
Okay.
I am making a note right now. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so let's go into our sharing of the infographics and sharing the learning that you experienced, extending that to us. What I thought I would do today, before starting with the wheel, is I would just ask if there is anyone who wants to share today, specifically, and we'll start with those people. We'll just make a list, and then if you want to raise your hand and I'll write your name down. And then if there is no one else who wants to, we'll give you a chance with the wheel. And if you're not prepared to do so, then we still have the next week. So anyone that's prepared today and would like to share their interview part 6 of the solo projects.
I can do.
Noran, fantastic.
Yes.
Anyone else? Okay, so Noran, why don't we go ahead and when you're ready, you can share your screen and get us started.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will just share the link for feedback here before I start. And share my screen. So you can see my screen?
Not yet. Oh, yes.
I cannot. Oh, here, yeah.
Yeah.
It may have a little bit of a delay, Noran, just in case while you're presenting.
Yes, I know. Don't worry.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, I used a different schematic from what our colleagues used the past time, because I thought that presenting from the infographic directly, the text was so little and it contained too much details, and the maneuvering was sometimes hard. So I decided to collect that on a simple presentation. Okay. So my topic today will be on the conflict resolution. And let me express myself today in the form of this emoji to represent the way I see each of the team or the leaders I interviewed. And we are going to talk about today. The key people I chose was from the middle management in my organization, in which they deal with conflicts on different in different directions, which are they deal with the top management and they deal with their team members and the clients externally. So they handle conflicts in different directions. And this slide is an intro to make you see them in my eyes. So they are not their photos actually, but I chose the closest photo to how I see each one of them. And I defined each one of them was with a like nickname or a name that I described them with. So Ahmed was my ex-team leader in my old corporation, and I describe him as the diplomatic. Amira is a sales manager in my current organization, and we all call her the Iron Woman. Hussein is a service sales manager in my organization too, and I call him the encourager. And finally, Muhammad is my direct manager, and I describe him as the aristocrat, and I hope nobody tell him that I'm calling him in this way. Ahmed, actually, my reason for selection for him, that I noticed while I was on my old company that he barely used to have any conflict with anyone, ever. And everybody was very encouraging to handle projects with Ahmed because he is always flexible and having a good way in dealing with the people. So that was weird for me. And Ahmed advices for us was that you have to speak less and listen more. And words and style are magical in ending a conflict as soon as they are good for the ears listening them and eyes seeing you. And actually, I would like to elaborate more what he means with that, because in when we communicate with someone, you can have one message and you have two persons in which they use different words and different ways. They will communicate the message in different forms too. So you have to use the best words and the best way to elaborate your message so it will reach the receiver clearly and in a diplomatic way that he will not take it in offensive way or just feel you are not in a flexible way with him. For Amira, the reasons for selection that she's managing a tough business in my corporation now, which needs a very assertive and flexible person in same time. And I really like her. And her advices for me was avoiding conflict is impossible. Conflict is routine phenomena everywhere. For this reason, conflict resolution became a topic for education in management and engineering majors. Also, communication for a woman is the best way to resolve any issue, as they usually have a persuasion abilities and flexibility to manage conflicts. For the students, when we talk the organizational behavior, There was part of the communication that the communication way differ from gender to another. So, and sometimes females have a power in this part because they are usually flexible and handle stuff with a good way. No offense against men, by the way. For Hussein, my reason for selection is very weird. Me and Hussein experienced a situation together that my office desk used to be beside his team members, and he sit in a desk beside the manager. So we have two region for managers and regions for the other employees. So, and we are separated from each other. And one day he came to me and he suggests switching places because he need to sit close to his team members. He said that we are engaging all day and I need to be close to them. So besides feeling good that I have sat in a good area beside the manager and people thought that I got promoted and I'm not, but I thought that this is awesome from him to give up his place beside the managers and just he want to sit beside his team because this is better for them. His advice was that online communication make it hard sometimes to reach a conclusion in short term and increase conflicts. For Muhammad, he's my direct manager, so of course this is the main reason for selection. And actually, Muhammad has a magical way to analyze problems and conflict with the help of systematic way of thinking he uses to always reach a conclusion. And when you know him more, so you find he is not talented, but using this systematic way and applying to all problems and conflicts make him always reach a conclusion. So he made me believe that the way to resolve a conflict or solve a problem is not a talent. I can learn by having my own way and practicing it more. His advices was try not to get involved in office politics or gossips. And according to the experience of human and his age, maybe the difficult conflicts before are not anymore. The lessons learned from the four leaders were that rules, policies, and procedures are a good way for conflict resolution. Be updated with your workplace rules. And they meant here that most of the conflicts inside the workplace are because we don't know the optimum way to do anything, or so we have a conflict together. So if we know the policies and procedures of our workplace, that might make us resolve lots of conflicts that we experience in daily basis. Know the type of each person and how to start a conversation with him or her. That help in minimizing conflicts. No way to have zero conflicts. Learn how to deal with, not only to avoid. After sales service jobs usually have conflicts as they usually deal with angry clients. Always keep that in mind to learn how to manage such type of conflicts. I need to make an elaboration here because one of the manager, whom is Hussein, is working in sales management. And working in sales or after sales jobs specifically, you are dealing with client whom always in trouble. So he have a problem in his project site or in operation of his project, and he have a affected financially and economically, and his process stops. So when he is calling for a service team to back up him, he is always angry. This is the type of after sales clients. So they have to keep that in mind. So if he's angry, I have to just deal him in a flexible and calm way and deal with his problem professionally. Just not to be angry, me too, that he is angry, and just we had a conflict together. Offline communication contributing conflict more than the source of conflict itself. Make sure to use face-to-face communication ways in conflict resolution. Try not to get involved in side talks in which different opinions are introduced and room inside workplace in different forms. Conflicts can arise from that. The basic resources in conflict resolution are the ability, skills, and experience and rules. Skills are shaped by experience to resolve conflicts that cannot be solved by rules. And here, what I meant with these words, that sometimes if the rules are not sufficient to solve a conflict inside the workplace, so our skills will play the important role in the conflict resolution, and they are shaped by experience from time to time. So when I experience a different type of conflict each time, I will acquire more skills in the conflict resolution. So my skills and my rules will both cooperate together to resolve the conflicts. Good communication skills is the tool to avoid a conflict escalation, assessing the situation, and accordingly decide on how to handle a conflict. Finally, the conclusion about the leaders and how they act in their work environment. They are ethical leaders. They choose the right ethical ways to resolve conflicts. They all have good relation within their workplace by the smart handling of conflicts. They are trying to formulate healthy climate between their team members to minimize conflict occurrence. This is the feedback form for the presentation. Please take only 2 minutes from your time to evaluate this presentation. And thank you. And if you have any questions.
Thank you, Nooran. As everyone is filling out your feedback form, we'll give you that couple minutes now. The link is in the chat box. I went in, I was going to fill it out while you were presenting, but I thought it wasn't fair because I'll do that in the grade book for you. But very well organized. I'm speechless here. I've got so many thoughts from what you shared. Okay, so first I have to tell you, I love that you brought in the emoji with the smile, representing your experience with the interviews for conflict resolution. That was a very creative way to share your onset of learning. And I love, that's actually a great strategy for potential conflict resolution, right? If you have people tag how they're feeling when you're beginning any kind of problem solving or situation, you'll know where their mindset is and be able to do some work on that first. So thank you. That was a very cute little strategy. I like that you shared with the focus that you went into because it was meaningful and purposeful for you in looking at middle management experiences in very different ways. A couple of things that stood out from each of your people that you interviewed was I wrote a note about the connection to the gender difference in how we communicate. And I agree with you. It isn't a make wrong on one gender and another gender is superior. It's just that awareness of the approach. And when we're communicating with people of different genders, we need to assure that we're being heard and they're being heard in a way that will help move the work forward. So that was great insight. I think that came from Amira. And then the physical placement of your managers, that was Hussein, and how he traded spots with you. And I've had leaders that have done that before, and I can really appreciate how that impacts the ability and willingness for everyone in the room to contribute in different ways than had they if they were sitting next to their peers, or to actually give a different lens for the leader who's changing his or her physical position in the room to gain a different perspective. So that was super insightful as well. And then one of the things that I wrote down that is a quote, or a abbreviated quote that you had said, was deal with the conflicts, don't only avoid them. Like, there will always be conflicts, so schooling yourself in strategies of how to approach that will help you be so much more successful than avoiding the conflicts, because the conflicts will always be there in some form or another. And then that whole idea of formulating a healthy climate through conflict resolution, I thought was a brilliant way to tie everything in. So thank you so much for all those learnings, Nora, and beautiful job with that.
Thank you.
Very insightful. Okay, so everyone should have had, I didn't intentionally like go on. Those are true takeaways from that learning. But that should have given everyone time to complete the feedback form for Noran. Does anyone need more time? If you're good to move on, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Okay, it looks like maybe we need a little bit more time to complete the feedback form. Okay, I see one person is ready. A couple of people. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. I'm going to go to our wheel now. And let's see who is going to be next. Olia, are you here with us today and ready to share your learnings from your interviews? Let me see if Olia is with us today. She is here. I just don't know if she's in a place where she can share.
Hello.
Hello, Olia.
Hi, Professor. I'm so sorry. As of now, I really can't share, but maybe if I can do that maybe in 20 minutes or so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We will come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will go back to Aaliyah. So I'm going to go ahead and remove her. I put her on our list with Norin. And then let's see who else might be available today. I don't think Antonika's even here. Okay, so let me just. I just want to mark a not present so that we don't keep. Okay, so let me go ahead and take that off. And we will go again. Judalyn, are you with us today and ready to share your learning?
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Okay, I tried to make it today because I don't know if I'm present next meeting or what. So I can try today even I have my allergy cough.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Is it better for you to present next week, or do you want to go ahead and give it a try?
So I don't know if I'm present next week. So
Oh,
maybe
okay.
because I asked 1 hour late in my work, so maybe I can do it now.
Yes, thank you. Let's do that. You can share your screen when you're ready. I will stop sharing mine. Thank you for being flexible.
No problem. Or I should. Oh my God, I think I can share this one. It's from the keynote. Because my Microsoft 365 is not working, so I use the keynote from the Apple and
Okay.
why it don't, but I have a PDF in my, can I share the PDF? Is it okay?
Absolutely. You do what is going to have you be most relaxed and share. We just appreciate your learning, sharing your learning. So whatever's most comfortable for you.
Because I cannot open my Microsoft 365, it's not working in my site.
Okay.
Can you see now my screen?
I cannot see your screen right now. It doesn't look like you've shared yet. But if it's easier for you to put the document in the chat box, I would be happy to open it from my end for you too, whatever's best.
Oh my God. I'm sorry for this. Maybe can you ask someone to present while I'm fixing this? Is that okay? So that
Absolutely.
we'll not waste time. Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely. I will, let me share my screen again and you go ahead and okay, let's go back here. We'll come back to Olia and to Judalyn. Oh, Sayef, you are here. Hello. Are you ready to present today? Wait, did we lose you? Not here. Okay. So let me go in here. Okay, let's try again. Mohammed Z. Mohammed. Let's see. Not here today. Okay, this is going really fast. Okay, I'm going to remove, and actually I need to take Norian off the list because she already. Wrote us.
Yes, Professor, can you hear me?
I can. Are you in a place that you can share your learning today?
I can manage. I'm still at the office because of the timing, but let me try to connect my PC and I will present.
Fantastic. I will stop sharing then.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Sorry, this is taking long. Oh, there it is. Can you see it?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and mute. If you need anything, just give me a shout out, okay?
Okay. Okay, so my title or area of my interview was emotional intelligence and organizational leadership. So I interviewed 3 people that I know who I believe are leaders, and one of them, interestingly, is same age as me. But I've seen some extraordinary values in him since we graduated, because he is now in management level since we started working, because he's very fast paced and he has those skills. And to be honest, the video we watched earlier, courage, he always says that courage is the core value into being a leader. So I think his value and the value I saw from him is courage. And when I start, I can start from him. So he mentioned that when giving, so there were different areas that I had questions about, but the key points he mentioned are starting with the positive when giving feedback to employees. So this is the point he mentioned. He was my second interviewee, Moges, and some of the great points he mentioned are the core values of or the components of emotional intelligence, as you can see from the images, are he mentioned self-awareness and social awareness. He mentioned empathy, accepting constructive criticism, being open-minded to communication, and so on. So he more or less defined what emotional intelligence is, and he mentioned that self-reflection is very good, and to make his employees self-reflect, and even his friends, he mentioned, because he's as I've mentioned, a close friend of mine, and he does that. He tries to reflect on whatever issues that we have, or anything. So if I mentioned anything, I wanted to go abroad, then he would say, why would you want to go to abroad? He would ask you as if he's very concerned about whatever issues that you're raising. So the type of personality he has is also reflected into the things he does or the people he meets. So before meeting him, I had some issues. Now I believe I managed those issues. So another situation where I asked him is, how do you help navigate a challenging organizational change? So he said his work environment is in tech company. He's a software engineer, but now he's managing software engineers, junior engineers under him. So he said, present the criticism in a constructive way. So create that safe environment for the employees, so that they can they do not take the criticism any defensive way. So that they can accept the criticism and work in a way to better themselves. So he mentioned start with the positive always, because when you start with the negative, they become defensive. And I've also asked him where your own emotions might have impacted his abilities to lead. And he said he always, his emotions get the better of him, of course, but he mentioned that he always acknowledges what happened and reassesses the outcome and tries to make a better judgment of it. So he also mentioned that mistakes happen, and everyone should be prepared for those issues. And another leader I had is from the organization I work at. Excuse me. So this leader is my case team lead, and he mentioned that giving value and voice to employees. So he said giving them value and allowing them to be heard is one of the critical things that any leader should do, because when you give them value, or when they feel like they're valued, they work as if they feel as if they're doing something, they're valued, so they contribute with all they have. And when you give them voice, they're free to communicate and reflect on whatever they have. So one of the core points he mentioned, clearly similarly with the first interviewee, he added active listening, empathy, effective communication, respect, and understanding. So I asked him what are the most common barriers to effective emotional intelligence, and he mentioned which are typically the exact opposite of the skills or the common characteristics, which are lack of self-awareness, lack of empathy, and lack of communication skills. So in order to break down these barriers, he said to engage in self-reflection. I don't know, but three of them almost mentioned self-reflection as a good point, and seek feedback from others. And finally, a core important point I asked is how does he balance professionalism and emotional connection? So he mentioned empathy and understanding while still managing clear boundaries and expectations. So here he mentioned, for example, he said, if some employee says, I'm sick, then even if they're doing it to miss work or stuff like that, I do not say do not quit, or do not be absent, or no, you're lying. He says he has clear boundaries, so they have clear deliverables to deliver, but while taking the leave, so he supports them while expecting them to meet the team's standards. So he also mentioned that recognizing and celebrating their accomplishment, with which helps build emotional connections. Yeah, and in a contrary, the third person I interviewed, I didn't get, I mean, I got a lot of points, but I feel like I didn't get good points, because he was more biased into what was happening in his organization. He's in a management organization, sales. He was so focused on what he was doing personally. So, for example, I mentioned how did you handle conflicts, and he mentioned, I did this with the one employee. He said, we hired someone, and we made him see the clearer view and stuff like that. He didn't really mention good points in my perspective. But he mentioned recognizing and celebrating accomplishments, which I got a good point from his insights. So as you can see from the image, I've listed the components of emotional intelligence overall from all the interviewees. So there's this social awareness, respect and understanding, self-awareness, empathy, active listening, effective communication, accepting constructive criticism, and so on. And as I've mentioned, the common barriers to effective emotional intelligence are more or less negative, those that are opposite to the components. So lack of self-awareness, lack of empathy, lack of communication skills, and so on. So does anyone have any question? So I know Nuran did a really good presentation. So I was trying to, if I can manage, I was trying to prepare a PPT, but her approach was really good, because instead of talking, having that visual images can guide students. So yeah, you did good, Nuran.
Rhodas, you did well. Like, it's not a comparison. Everybody has their own styles. I wanted to just give you a chance to see how you wanted to get feedback from everyone. And then I have some points that really stood out from your experience with your interviews.
Okay, thank you. So I have a form. I'm going to share the link. I will share it to you shortly.
Okay, so she will share the link with you all shortly. Some key takeaways that I had, and first I should go ahead. I don't want to just like monopolize the takeaway time. Does anyone else have anything that they want to share in relation to Rhoda's presentation? Okay. Okay. So you started out in connection to the component about courage in a leader and the different pathways that you and your peer have taken since graduating in your workplace. So it was really exciting to me to see you learn from someone who has been up here with you, and you can see the growth in them. That's very exciting. Some things that really stood out to me that you shared was the importance when we're looking at emotional intelligence in leadership is in giving voice and having empathy while being open-minded. You had some strategies offered in relation to starting with positives, and then those common barriers, the lack of things like self-awareness and empathy and communication skills and how that can get in the way. You tied that into the importance of self-reflection and seeking feedback from others. And I think that it's important for us to always step outside of what we believe ourselves to be and recognize also what others are receiving that as. So I love that internal and external component to ensuring that we're leading strong through our emotional intelligence. You also noted about that reoccurring theme of clear boundaries and expectations. And Simon Sinek also mentioned that in his video is it's not about giving into or being soft. It's about having your clear boundaries and expectations and holding people accountable to them. That's a huge part of building trust as a leader. So that example that you provided in regards to people requesting off for sick leave or for whatever kind of leave, and how the leader that you interviewed said, well, I will then just trust them to get their deliverables done. They know what their work is and what they need to do. And so it wasn't a point of contention. It didn't become a conflict for that person because the clear boundaries and the expectations were set. And I think that that's important is my grandmother always taught me to pick your battles, meaning decide what's going to get your attention and how much you're going to lose or gain by directing your attention in that way. So, as a leader, working with emotional intelligence, setting those healthy boundaries, those clear boundaries and expectations is really important. And it's also important to tie in what Noran had shared about the physical placement of the manager and seeing things through other people's perspectives. Those two things tied in for me because it's important to have those clear boundaries and expectations, but you have to know your people in order to uphold them to those things, because perhaps there's a gap that you need to fill as a leader in between. So very, very exciting, very insightful sharing today. Thank you, Rhodas. I didn't get to use my reaction, so I'm going to give you the applause. And I am excited to return to Judalyn. Are you prepared now?
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome, Rhodas. I just want to see if Judalyn was able to get her technology to work with her.
Can you see my screen?
It is, yes, I can. Thank you. Congratulations. I'm going to mute my microphone, and if you need anything, you let me know.
Okay. Just Hi, everybody. My focus today is equality in leadership. All the leadership that I interviewed today is from different organization. Why is that moving? Here, like the firefighter, the chief, the hockey coach, the military in a village from the council. When I interviewed this military, his name is Brad. He is working in military here in Canada, and what he says to me is, if you have the highest rank, don't abuse it. Just like if you can see this chest, the phone is always on the front page, on the front to support the higher officials at the bank. And then, as here also in the village council, you can see here is the hub a public service, and they're expecting that even you're a stranger or not, the service should be equal. Like this, you can see this one that there's lots of nationalities entering Canada. And the firefighter is the equality in the gender, because mostly in the firefighter is 95% male and 5% female, because they think that men are better than women. When I go in the hockey coach also, they see that, because when we are watching, if one of you are watching on the basketball on the TV, we can see that there are players that they are just sitting on the bench until the game is done. And for the hockey coach said that I interview is, she said that we should give privilege to all the athletes, to all the players to show their worth. And here comes the chief, that when I interviewed this person, his name is Andrew, he have a food truck, and he said that when it comes to equality, even in the all the people working inside the restaurant must have the tips, because it's unfair if only the food server in the shift will have the tips, but all, even you don't cook, even you don't serve, as long as you're working on that time, they give you a tips. And for all this leadership that I interviewed, they say that presentation, they see that all this equality, we all see that there's equality, but there's equality. They all see, but once you go inside the organization, you can see the equality they are seeing as not the same as equality. This, I focus all this on different organization because I want to see how each of these manage by each, because mostly of the time there's a hardship in following orders or demand, especially the military. In the firefighter, it's hard to follow orders, especially if you're in the scene. So I think that's what I present now. It's very short. Thank you very much. If there's any question, I can answer it, or our professor will help me to answer it. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Judalyn. Any questions from anyone in the group? Okay, if there aren't any questions, something that I wrote, I'm writing out notes because my memory is really horrible, not because what you're presenting isn't very helpful and insightful, but I'm writing down notes for everyone. And I don't think we've had anyone cover equality yet. We've had emotional intelligence and conflict resolution. But something that was interesting to me in the diverse roles of leaders that you shared, Judalyn, was the different approaches to and focuses on equality in the workplace. So you had things like making sure that the leadership role was taken very seriously and it wasn't an abuse of power, that there was equal service happening and gender equality. You also mentioned pay equality I believe that was with the chef in the restaurant. And your intention was to see how each managed equality through their organization. And you recognize the hardship in following orders when equality is not present. So that's a lot of learning in regards to equality in the workplace. One question I have for you, Judalyn, though, is with the diverse representation here of equality, did you find any experiences that you could relate to that you have experienced in your work in your own work? So, because there was a lot covered there in regards to their leading inequality, but for you as a person, either currently in jobs that you've had in the past, or the kind of leader that you want to be, what was your main takeaway from this?
My main takeaway is the firefighter. I'm joining firefighter, but they see that, okay, let's wait if there's a vacant for you. But mostly is I know that because we are women, so you'll keep waiting for a man first. Maybe if there's no man, then they can hire us. And another one is for this village council, because as a foreign, if you move to another country, you can see some equality that you want local hubs that you don't have, because you are all doing the roles like we are all paying taxes, but there are some that why we don't cover like this, but we are paying like that. That's what my focus is.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you for extending. Thank you so much. And thank you. I'm sorry that you're not feeling well.
I don't know, because my friend asked me to go and feed her guinea pig. I don't know why they see that it's guinea pig, but it look like a rodent. And I don't know,
Oh,
maybe that's the time I saw and that I got that.
maybe you're allergic. Yeah. Well, I hope you heal up soon. And thank you for
Yeah.
sharing your learning with us today.
You're
Um,
welcome. I hope it will help and it will give some learning to my classmates also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Leah, are you able or in a place to share now, or should I go back to the wheel?
Hello, Professor.
Hello, Leah.
I'm so sorry. I had an electric fault inside the house, so they've just fixed it, and I'm trying to log in onto my computer right now. Can I be maybe the last one, if it's
Absolutely.
possible, or the first
Yes.
one next time?
No, that's okay. I'm going to go to the wheel. We have one more to select, and then if
Okay.
you're not able to today, we can put you back on the wheel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I
All right.
understand the technology. Okay, let me share my screen again. Hamed.
Present.
Are you in a
Can you hear
good
me?
place? Yes, yes. Are you in a good place to share today?
Well, unfortunately, I cannot.
Okay.
I did 2 of the interviews
Oh, that's right.
out of
My
3.
apologies. Yes,
No,
yes.
it's
No,
okay.
I
It's okay.
apologize. You did say that. You did say that. So that's okay. I will keep you on the wheel for next week. No
Yes.
worries. I'll go
Okay.
back to the wheel. Thank you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the
No, it's
spot. I
okay.
did. I literally just messaged with you about that. So that's my bad. So I'm going
Actually,
yes.
actually, I wanted to say what I learned from these 2 interviews, but I know it's not fair. I don't want to take anyone else's time.
Okay, well here, what we'll do is we'll spin and if no one else is available today, then we'll let you go ahead and share on those too if you found some good insights
It will
to
be
share.
quick. It will be quick.
Okay, okay, give me 1 minute here. Dania, I actually don't know for sure. Let me look. I'm looking on the list here. Oh, she's not with us. Okay, so I am going to remove. Then what we will do, Ahmed, if you want to share about your 2, you had some insights that you wanted to share, and then we'll go to Aaliyah
Okay.
if you would like to do that.
I would love to.
Okay, fantastic. I'll stop sharing my screen in case you need to share something
No,
on
you
the
don't need
screen.
to share anything. Just
Okay.
I just thought.
All
Well,
right.
as you all know, I had some questions, and one of those questions was how to measure the benefit of emotional intelligence. Well, you all were correct. It shows in the harmony of the team. That's the CEO, the first interview I had, told me it's harmonious, it's working good with people feeling good. But the general manager who I interviewed, he took it from a different way. He said, "See, me myself, I feel disappointed that there is no physical or numeristic feedback for this. I cannot say that the work increased or the sales increased with this percentage because of emotional intelligence. But what I realized, it's affecting, yes, as you all said, harmony. Okay, but at the same time, as the other managers told me, it's affecting the person himself, the leader himself. It increases the trust in him. Okay, it makes him a go-to person. Okay, it's not a it's not like hide from person. Okay, the support that the leader gives to him, to his team, okay, it's improving his image. Okay, and the word never stop. Okay, so I am working right now with a great manager, for example. Okay, then I will tell to my friends, to my colleagues, to my other people I know from different companies that I am working with a great manager. So everyone will will want to work with this person because of his reputation. So it's affecting the reputation of the leader. That's I take that's something I took from my interviews. The CEO, the first thing he told me, okay, is emotional intelligence now is more important than intelligence. Okay, like it doesn't matter if the person is well educated. It doesn't matter if the person has great skills in calculations or in numbers or in documentation or uh, you know any physical skill. Okay, right now it's the priority to the emotional intelligence, which linked which was his words linked me to a book I was trying to get. The book name was Hire for Attitude. And the state that I have read it before, hire for attitude and train for skills. Okay, so it's not the vice versa. It's not a hire because this person is technically good, not anymore. Okay, because whoever is technically not good can be trained, but the emotions, the attitude of the person cannot be trained. Or I don't want to say cannot be trained, but it is difficult to be trained. Okay, that's I have taken. The other part is, what are the barriers for emotional intelligence? Okay, the CEO told me the barriers is the person himself, the leader himself. If the leader is not willing to accept change, is not acknowledging that there is a problem needed, and the solve for this problem is to be more emotional intelligent. Okay, this person will never be trained, or cannot be improved in this area. Okay, the general manager told me that you like, for any training, you need first to understand why you are doing this training. It's not like, yeah, there is a training, let's take it, and there is a great opportunity or a great offer, or in a training center, let's take emotional intelligence. No, you don't go for this particular training without having in mind what is the problem, how it can be solved. Okay, what is the expected outcome of this training? Okay, but both of them agreed on something, that, or this is what I understood from what they told me. Emotional intelligence is related to a reaction to a situation, to an emotional situation. Okay, I didn't take it in my mind like that. I thought, like, what will happen? But they opened my eyes for this. I'm waiting for the third leader to meet, hopefully by Saturday, and then I will be able to present coming week. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. And so I was just looking up. So I have a lot of notes just from those two. That was some fantastic learning. I'm excited to hear about your third interview. So
One
when
thing
we
I'm
look
afraid
at,
of.
I'm sorry?
One thing I'm afraid of.
You're afraid of? What's that?
I will not be able to present the same way in when my actual time comes.
Oh, well, I feel like we're getting a snapshot each week, going from grappling with your questions last week to some key takeaways today to the full results next week. What I'm seeing with emotional intelligence, from what you're speaking to and from what our other peers in the course have shared on their presentations for emotional intelligence, is there's that increased leadership ability by having the emotional intelligence prevalent in the workplace, and also the increase in team performance and personal well-being. There's a great way for improving decision making, right? Because you're collaborating better, you have a better sense of self, and you are a more connected leader. So then that allows you to have reduced staff turnover, and then also decreased occupational stress. Mental health in the workplace is essential. So some very key findings on emotional intelligence, and I would agree that emotional intelligence has its place as being most important in the workplace, but it's hard to say it's more important than intellect or than there's other forms of intelligence that we definitely need in the workplace. So I think it's important to have a true balance, because you can have everyone emotionally well, but if they don't have the intelligence to carry out the tasks to do the work, then you'll still be shortchanged in your outcomes. So I understand how people are saying it's more important. And what I would like to say is that it takes a place at the top of what's necessary for our organizations to be successful. But I think that we'll be in danger if we make one thing the most important over another, because they're also intertwined when we look at things through an organizational lens. So
Professor, sorry, Professor. I agree with you in that. Okay, but at the same time, I understand the perspective of the person who told me that. I'm talking to a CEO. So this CEO, he's not dealing with small stuff. He's dealing with either a department manager or team leaders. He's not dealing with the I don't want small stuff, but he's not dealing directly with the staff who are doing the task. He is dealing with people who are managing the stuff. So I definitely understand. See, I agree with you 100%. You know, to be emotionally intelligent is not a replica or does not compensate lacking of skills.
right.
Okay? I agree with you in this point. But from his perspective, okay, I can be an excellent manager, even, and this is something that he told me, okay, accepting the benefits of the others. Okay, he's the CEO, and at some point he was the marketing manager. Okay, and he told me a simple example. He told me that there is like the digital marketing is booming right now. So whoever knows the digital marketing are the young employees. Okay, not the senior ones. They could know it, but they will not be as good as in it as the new generation. So he told me that part of the emotional intelligence here, that the great leader or the leader acknowledge that someone else is better than him. So instead of fighting that or trying to reduce the importance of the other, okay, instead of that, they are giving the opportunity. Okay, this is a project related to digital marketing. Then you, X person, okay, you will be handling this project. You will be responsible for this project. Okay, you will explain to others. You will explain to me. I am the senior person, for example. So this is part of the emotional intelligence. But as you said, there is no skill overcoming other skill, but in certain positions, and when we are talking about a leader, a CEO leader, he's dealing with managers. So for this, I believe what he said. I don't have the recent skills, technical skills, but I have the emotional intelligence allowing me to accept that the new generation is better than me in some certain area.
I think, okay, I understand that. What I think is that there's been more time in our history where attention was given to more managerial leading, which would require someone to look at the intelligence level and the strengths through your intellect. And emotional intelligence isn't brand new, but is newer to the profession. It's newer to the training because there were gaps. People recognized that there had to be something different or in addition to intelligence. So it brings me back to Simon Sinek's discussion, though it was a very small portion of it, about rank and authority versus leaders. And I think that true leaders, in recognizing the role of intellect and the role of emotional intelligence, is a part of what makes a leader stand out from having rank and authority. There are other things as well, but I do think that that is a part of making a leader stand out. And when I speak about intellect, I don't want to negate the importance of knowledge and understanding and having a and having a attuneness to what's happening around you. With the scenario that you used about recognizing a generation being more efficient and effective in certain areas, I think that we can generalize that, but I think that it's also important as a leader to know that we can't negate the idea that if someone is passionate about continuous learning and building skills for their roles and responsibilities, that at any age you may be very impactful because you might be doing trainings all the time and reading materials and living life experiences that allow you to be very impactful regardless of the generation. And I'm not saying that he was wrong in what he said. I'm saying that I think that it's not a fine, like, infinite decision. I think that there are some outliers that may play in that as well. Does that make sense?
It does, yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Aaliyah, are we in a good place to share today? Power working, yes or no?
Yes, I can. I think I can try.
Okay,
I think I
fantastic.
can try. Yes. So let me try to share my screen.
Okay, thank you for problem solving for us. I will mute, and if you need anything, just let me know.
No problem. Um, okay. Can we see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So my interviews were on intergenerational leadership, and I managed to interview about 4 people. And I did the interviews, and all of them, they turned up for the interviews. And I did choose these people because all of them are in managerial positions from all their organizations. So with intergenerational leadership, it identifies leadership behaviors from various generations within workplaces. And their roles is to skillfully work within their intergenerational dynamics and see how they can go about dealing with various issues within the organizations. So I'll go through some of the questions that I asked my interviewees. importance to note is that, yes, to a certain extent, these do things differently. If we are from different generations, we are bound to do things differently to a certain extent. For example, here we can see that there are mainly 4 groups: the traditionalists, the baby boomers, the Generation X, and the millennials. And you'll see that from the traditionalists, these ones, they value respect for authority, whilst the millennials, they are more into technology and they value innovation and all that. And the baby boomers, they value engagement, while the Generation X is pragmatic and skeptical in most instances. So the questions, the first question was, how do you deal with intergenerational conflict within workplaces, right? And I got almost the same, it was almost the same level of understanding on how intergenerational leaders deal with conflict. The bottom line was organizations do have ways of dealing with conflict. There are disciplinary policies, and everyone, regardless of their age, they are bound within those. So whatever that you do, whether you are old or whether you're a millennial or not a millennium, that the policy will apply, and it's all just going to be done by the book, regardless of your age. And then the other points that they made me aware of is that there is need to acknowledge conflict, that there is a problem to begin with. If you do want to deal with a conflict, there is need to acknowledge that there is a problem within the organizations. And then after acknowledging, then you find ways of trying to address those. This is when managers can assist different generations properly when they recognize their communication styles. And then there is need to activate each generation's strength. Managers should assign strength focused on each task. And then to resolve conflict between each generation, the best course of action is to plan and stick to it, like referring to the policies that have been clearly laid out in the organization regarding conflicts. And then the second question was, should organizations base human resources policies and practices on intergenerational difference? Almost all of the answers that I got was no, because they said not at any given time should it be like that, as this is a form of discrimination and such leads to conflicts within organizations. So it's just a recipe for more conflicts, trying to, aligning or trying to base human resources policies and practices according to what fits who and who wants this to apply to them. It really doesn't work that way. So they said, no, that one is clearly gonna be a recipe for disaster, and it's just gonna escalate conflicts, and that will end up with chaotic situations within organizations. And then the other question was, do intergenerational differences have an effect on economic and labor policies? Yes, to a certain extent. However, there are indications that organizations do what they have put on their mission statements to achieve and remain a going concern. So age differences will not affect any of these as long as each and every member within the organization stick to what has been put in black and white, stick to the mission, the values of the organization. But however, to a certain extent, we find some people choose to go against the mission of the organization, and we going back to things that may even escalate conflicts or cause conflicts within the organization, being one of the reasons that someone has just decided to go against the organization's mission statement, and then they decide to do their own thing because they think they have more experience than the newcomers. They've been with the organization for such a very long time, so they think, no, these things they can do as they please and all that. But from the interviews, the outcome was, no, we shouldn't find ourselves as leaders basing on that. A mission statement is a mission statement, and it has to be followed and respected as it is. Otherwise, one of the leaders went to an extent of saying they don't take chances, or they don't even take time to dismiss someone who will go against their organization's mission statement. So that is what they indicated on that one. And then I also asked on, do intergenerational differences have an effect on, okay, sorry, this I've already done. And then the other question was, are there any differences between intergenerational managers? Yes, to a certain extent, yes, there are differences. It's normal. It's normal, or it's common knowledge maybe, that the difference, the age gaps will certainly have an influence in the way these people will do their things, as we have seen at the beginning of this presentation, that they are actually categorized into 4, and how they do things is different. So yes, to a certain extent, it will affect the way they will do things, the way they manage, because most of those that are the aged, maybe let me say that, they will manage according to experience. They will use their hands-on experience on how to manage things and go around things within the organization, whilst the millennials may choose to use what they have just learned. Maybe these are new graduates, they new MBA graduates, and then they get a job. They have no hands-on experience, and then they will choose to apply their theory in managing the organization. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just an indication of how the difference come by. The older generations will use experience mostly, whilst the millennials will choose to use mostly theory. Yes, tensions between different generations in organizations can be present due to lack of trust between older and the young workers, often yielding a culture of competition and resentment. Yes, this is also the point that they raised, and it's quite true to a certain extent. We have experienced this, especially within our organization, that the older guys will be saying, I know better than you, you know, because I've been here all this time. You are just a newcomer. You came just a month ago, and now you want to tell us what to do. And then tensions will begin to be felt within the organization. And yes, that leads to actual productivity losses. Yes, because people will end up not doing their jobs due to these tensions. But when age diverse teams are managed well, members can share a wide array of skills, knowledge, and networks with one another so as to achieve a common goal. Yes, there is also a situation whereby everyone chooses to forget about their age, about their experience, or about their theory, but then they just stick to what they have came for. Everyone comes to take the organization to a particular level. And this goes with working together, being able to work with others well, regardless of your age. And this will result in achieving a common goal as an organization. So the age difference or the intergenerational issues will not be applying in this particular instance when members choose to work in harmony and choose to stick to one another and support one another and achieve a lot as one team. So this is the end of my presentation. And yes, well, I would like to thank everyone who's been listening.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Such an interesting topic as well. So across your 4 people, it was interesting that, and I love how you layered your questions to get us from that policy, right? The policy will be applied regardless of your age, because especially here in the United States, it's true marginalization in many cases. That's why I did a little pushback with Ahmed about the generations that he was talking about, the younger generations in his workplace. Because in the US, it's connected to laws and protections, just like it would be if you were to not hire someone because of their gender or their race. So it was very interesting that, you know, they all acknowledged that. And then I loved how you brought in the connection to conflict resolution, and that there are going to be differences, and it is going to need to be addressed and communicated. And so those steps that you provided from your learning from your interviews of acknowledging and addressing, appreciating, and activating, and then actualizing, I think are really key strategies when we look at intergenerational leadership. And then you mentioned the cautions of discrimination, the cautions of marginalizations, and the biggest, or one of the main differences, at least that stood out to me that you shared, was the approach in looking at theory versus experience. And I know I had a scenario where I was working with a leader who was struggling with accepting the contributions of a younger leader, and felt like that person hadn't worked their way through the ranks, as they had said. and they were definitely looking through that experience lens that you shared, Olia. And the younger leader was looking through that theory lens, that innovative approach to leadership, seeing the problem, knowing they didn't have the experience yet in regards to taking on the problem, but that willingness to just jump in and make things happen, and having the passion for change was an example that popped into my mind right away when you shared that, Aaliyah. And I captured where you spoke about sharing that wide array of skills and knowledge across generations. It doesn't have to be an either or. It doesn't have to be everyone is going to be from this age group or that age group. We can really complement each other through the diversity of age in a workplace. And I think you captured that very well. So thank you for your sharing today, Aaliyah. I see
Thank
that
you. Too.
Go right ahead.
I was saying thank you too for giving me the opportunity to share my presentation, and thank you to all my colleagues for listening.
Absolutely. So I do see that you put your feedback link in the chat box as well for everyone. So if we can be sure to go in and give her that insight. What happens next is that the people who have already shared their learning. So I have Leazette from last week, Judalyn, Olia, Naran, Mansour, Olina, Rodas. You all, you won't upload your infographic to the Moodle for this presentation. What you'll upload is just a very brief reflection. Leazette, I believe you already did that, and I went in and scored that. You can do it in the notes of the grade book, or you can do it in a document. It's just a couple of paragraphs, short paragraphs, just giving your reflection on the assignment and your learning, and incorporating a little bit of feedback that you received from your peers. So it doesn't have to be anything formal. It doesn't have to be anything that takes a lot of time. It is just a quick way for you to do a little summary or synthesis of the learning. And then that will send me a notification that you've done that, and I will go in and post your grade. Otherwise, I'll wait to post the scores until we finish next week, where everyone has had an opportunity to do that. So today, all of your peers who were prepared and presented and led us through their learning had a link in the chat box. So if you can go in and give them some reflections, if you haven't yet, that would be very helpful to help them be able to recognize all of the learning that not only they got to experience through the people that they interviewed, but that we also got to experience through that. So we are complete for today. Next week, we'll wrap up our presentations, and then we will talk about what the next days will look like. So I'm going to go ahead and give you this extra time to complete those feedback forms for your peers that are in the chat box, and to prepare if you aren't ready yet for next week. And I thank everyone for your time and for your learning and for your growing in your leadership roles. So have a great week, everybody. Take care.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Good day. Bye.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.